Byron Day with another COVID-19 benefits information segment with our Fox 10 News investigative reporter, Brendan Kirby. Brendan's back with us again for an update on, guess what? Stimulus payments. Now, a viewer writes saying he got the $500 tax credit for each of 2 foster children that were in his care based off his 2019 tax return, Brendan, but those kids aren't living with him this year. He wants to know if he can keep the money. I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, interesting question, Byron. According to the IRS, he can keep the money. This is one of a number of different little quirks in the CARES Act that resolve discrepancies in favor of the taxpayer. For instance, if it were the other way around and the viewer had foster children this year but not last year, he would be able to claim the child credit on them when he files his tax return next year. But he doesn't have to give it back if he had them in 2019 but not 2020. And the rules are the same for your own children. If you had a baby in 2020, you'll be able to claim the additional $500 credit when you file your taxes next year. Or if your income was too high in 2019 to qualify, but then it drops below the threshold this year, you can get your stimulus after you file your tax return next year. However, you won't have to pay it back if you qualified based on your 2019 income, but then you made too much this year to qualify. So either way, it works out for the taxpayer.
Yeah. All right, Brendan, we've heard as many complaints about the IRS as we've heard about the Alabama Unemployment Office, and just try to get somebody on the phone. Is there an update on the status of both?
Well, Byron, at least the unemployment office has been open, even if it's been next to impossible to get someone on the line. The IRS, on the other hand, literally closed its call center because of the pandemic. It wasn't just next to impossible, it was impossible to reach someone. The good news is the IRS has resumed call center operations, but the bad news is it's on an extremely limited basis, and there's still no human service in most cases. So let's run down the current state of things. You've got something called the Taxpayer Protection Program. If you've gotten a letter from the IRS asking if you filed a suspicious tax return, you can use the online identity verification service to validate your identity. The IRS does this if it suspects identity theft, and you can find this online at irs.gov/identity-theft-fraud-scams/identity-verification. Hopefully we have that on the screen. If you get such a letter, it'll have a phone number, and that actually is staffed by humans, but the wait times are quite lengthy. But Byron, you can't use this for questions about your stimulus payment. So all the people who are looking for that are still going to have to just muddle through. Then we've got tax returns. The agency is still processing returns. In fact, as of April 3rd, it had received more than 97.4 million returns and issued more than $213 billion in tax refunds. But the IRS is still not processing paper returns. So if you haven't filed yet and the extended deadline is coming up next in July, the agency asks that you do it electronically to make sure it gets processed. And finally, there's the mail service. The IRS is still not dealing with most mail correspondence, so if you mail something, it's likely to sit around for a long time, or it might even be returned to you.
All right, Brendan Kirby, thanks so much. And Brendan will be back with us on Fox 10 News at 5 to answer more medical questions about coronavirus. And if you have a question, just email Brendan directly at brendan.kirby@fox10tv.com. He's going to try to answer as many questions as he can get to.